So anyway, that was the first time anyone had referenced the Smurfs sexually since I saw Donnie Darko. What's up, guys? Also, Chris here. Friends with Benefits podcast, TN2M shows, sit down, stand up. The whole thing about this entire YouTube channel and the fun we're having with it, and me just telling dumb stories and trying to make y'all laugh. I had a lot of fun with the Tales from Retail Hell thing I did last time, so I wanted to kind of touch on that again. And I've got a couple stories from the popcorn store I was going to tell this time. We'll kind of go in oldest to newest, and those years being 2002 to 2003. So it was the fall of 2002. It was like a Wednesday or Thursday evening, and me and one of my friends are working, and I'm sitting there like making caramel corn. We got this big fucking cauldron like thing that everything gets mixed in, and yeah, you have to keep an eye on it because it's very hot, and you have a lot of like solids as opposed to like liquids that you're mixing around, so it can like get smoky really easily or whatever. So I'm working on that, talking to one of my friends, and then we get a customer, and the stupidity I remember from this customer transaction is how incredibly dumb the entire process was, because she got angry about one of the most 2000s things I can imagine to tell you guys. So she comes in, and this woman throws an absolute fit because we are out of wild cherry Pepsi. I'm not joking. We had the little box that the syrup came in, and it was complete. We had no wild cherry Pepsi. We like double, triple checked the back room, offered everything under the sun we could. Like, we had slush puppy mix. We offered to like put a couple squirts of the cherry slush puppy mix in there. A couple squirts just sounds weird. But no, she wasn't having any of it. She couldn't get her wild cherry Pepsi. She didn't want anything. And she is throwing a fucking hissy fit about it. Keep in mind, this is the fall of 2002, so I'm 17 years old. The guy I'm working with is 17 years old. So at this point, like, my caramel corn stuff starts to smoke, so I have to go back over there and start like mixing. And so I'm like focused on that when I hear this like kind of ripping sound. It sounds kind of like Velcro or tape or something along those lines. And then I hear the soda machine, not really paying attention to them. So I assume they've just reached some agreement. She's getting something to drink, and then she's just going to fuck off. And then I feel the splash. Like here, like my arm. And then I hear like the cup hit the counter. She had taken one of our display cups that showed price and size, reached around and grabbed the Diet Pepsi, or filled it with Diet Pepsi, because 20 years later, I can still tell you the order of all 6 drinks we had on that machine and the order they went in. Yep. And so, she dropped that and just kind of stormed out. I kind of like looked at my buddy. He like has Diet Pepsi dripping from his face. And we kind of like laugh at the ridiculousness of it. And then he's like, "I'll be right back." And I was like, "Yeah, oh, okay." So he like goes, washes his face in our back sink, then wanders down. We had this like knockoff Hot Topic store called Cosmic. He goes, buys like a clearance shirt from there, comes back, takes a little like hobo bath in our dish sink, and goes to then we just kind of go about our day, like just talking about how fucking stupid the entire process was and the entire thing. So these next 2 take place summer of 2003. This absolute genius had his plan to, he was going to make his money. He was going to make a killing. This is how he was going to make his money. He comes in, he has 3 rolls of dimes, and asks me if I'll change them out. Working by myself. Day shift, you worked alone. Night shift, you had someone else with you. So I'm like, "Nah, I can't cash those out for you." We only started our days with like $85 in the till, so I couldn't give this guy, like, I didn't need 3 rolls of dimes. But he's like, "If I buy something, can you give me change for it?" And I was like, "Sure, absolutely, that's fine." So he buys a drink. His total was like, I think $1.80. I really think like $1.80 sounds right. So he, like, so I do that. I open the till back because I know he needed a dime back, and we didn't have any. So I crack it on the counter, and that's when I noticed that this absolute genius has stuffed the fucking dime roll with pennies. That's his genius plan. He's gonna make $15 off like $1.20. So I just kind of like stare at him, drop the pennies onto the counter, and just kind of like scoot them back towards him. And he's like, "Can I have my drink?" And like I'm turning it to refund the transaction so it doesn't show that we're under or anything. And I'm like, "No, not unless you're actually going to pay me." And he points at the pennies and says, "I did pay you." And I go, "No, you didn't. Like you knew what you were doing. You didn't know that those weren't pennies." And he just kind of like stands there, like tries to argue with me for another second. I was like, "Dude, you're not getting your drink unless you actually pay me for it." And he like leaves. And again, when I say absolute genius, I mean absolute genius. So he puts all the pennies in one pocket and has his two rolls. And he walks into Suncoast across from us, and I see him talking to the cashier, and they are holding up the two rolls. So I just kind of like walk out, cut my hands over, and I go, "Those are just pennies." And like put my hands back down, walk back behind the counter, and keep doing my thing. So he like scowls at me, gives me the bird, and storms out of there off to try and go make his millions at some other store. And this last one, which is kind of where the preview comes in at the beginning, is, like those day shifts were kind of long. Like you were working, we were very, very official. We opened at 10 a.m. and if you were the opener, I would get there at like 9:55. So, but like, and you worked by yourself. Like one of the owners would show up to like let you in and, just make sure like you're in there, the till's stacked and all that. But like after that, like fuck you, you're on your own for the next 7 hours. But I guess they would come by and like relieve you for like 30 minutes while you went on lunch. But that would be about it. So I always appreciated when like friends who worked there, friends who were at the mall, anyone would stop by and chat with me for a bit. And so I have a couple friends in there talking to me while I'm trying to make this a very slow day pass. So I'm like talking with my two friends when these two kids, kids, like, I was 18 at this point. So when I say these kids were like 12 or 13, there was a large age difference there. And, they were very much trying to be like Kevin Smith Mallrats. So, the kid comes up, and while he's walking up, his friend turns to one of my friends. I guess my friend had like a blue sucker or like a pixie stick or something because her lips and her tongue were blue. And he just goes, "Who you been blowing, Papa Smurf?" And two things crossed my mind. One, who the fuck says that to someone they don't know? Like, that's not a joke you make to someone unless you have like an established relationship with them. And two, like that was the first time I'd heard the Smurfs sexualized since Donnie Darko, so that was kind of fucking weird. So his friend, like, they're both laughing at that, like it's the funniest thing they've ever seen. Come up, order a popcorn and a soda. I get their shit, they pay, and then like the dude who I was doing the transaction with looks at me and he goes, "Hey man, I've been having problems with this pen. And you see if you can get it to work for me." So I take it, click the button. It's one of those electric pens, shocks me, so I drop the pen, but I drop it on my side of the counter. And so like he and his buddy are like laughing at me. And so I just kind of like stand there for a second. I like go to pick up the pen, and the kid goes, "Yeah, give it back to me." So I just like stood back up, and I was like, "No, just no." And he goes, "You have to." And I go, "No, I don't." And I just like kicked it at the wall. And we kind of go back and forth for a minute. He threatens to call his mom and have her like come chastise me. So I was just like, "So you're going to call your mother, have her come up to the mall, have her, and are you going to tell her that you came into a store to someone you didn't know, played this prank on them, and now you're angry that they won't give you your toy back?" And he was like, "Well, yeah." I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm here till 5." And he's just like, come on, man, like, give it back. And I just, like, kept repeating myself, no, I'm not giving it back to you. You're going to have someone come in here and basically force me to give this back to you. So the kid ends up storming out. My friends come up. They ask, like, what happened. I explained to them that this fucking asshole, like, played some dumb prank on me. But again, this is the same person who had made the who you blowin' Papa Smurf joke to one of my friends. So that's 3 stories about what it was like to work in a mall in the early 2000s. As you can tell, I had a lot of fun with it, and I genuinely did. Like, that popcorn store was probably one of my favorite jobs. But I also have a lot of fun with these videos. I think the next time I'm coming back to you guys is my birthday, end of April. I'll try and have something birthday related. If not, I'll probably just tell some like really embarrassing stories so you guys can all laugh at me like those 2 assholes at the mall did. But yeah, guys, TN2M Shows, Friends with Benefits podcast. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Just check us out there. I would tell you to check out the YouTube channel, but you're already here. So check out the other videos that we upload. We got a lot of good stuff, and I'll chat with you all soon.